But now let's get into that big story. This is from the Daily Mail. American truckers join Canada's Freedom Convoy, protesting vaccine mandate as rigs stretch for 45 miles. Trudeau plays it down and calls protesters a small fringe minority. Look at this. With 50,000 truckers driving from Vancouver, the Freedom Convoy 2022 is demanding that their government abolish vaccine passports. They say as many as 32,000, or about 20% of truckers, are not vaccinated. Now, there's so much craziness to this story. Aside from the fact this line is massive. GoFundMe, what do they raise? Like $5 million already? Is that it?
Well, that's what I heard yesterday, that they had canceled a $5 million.
Froze it.
Froze it, okay.
Yeah, I think they released it.
Oh.
This is big. It's amazing because we had that big DC protest, this past weekend. Robert Malone went on Joe Rogan's podcast and mentioned, we're going to go to DC and protest. Wasn't that big. Was not that big. I think Luke was down there and he said maybe 10, 20,000 people. And I was like, well, But now we're getting 50,000 truckers stretching 45 to 50 miles.
It looks like GoFundMe's releasing 1 million of the 5 million for some reason, not all 5 million.
I can't understand why they would even use GoFundMe.
Yeah. No, I don't know why you would at this point. It's interesting because this article that we were all looking at points out that the longest convoy prior to that was 5 miles long. This is 45.
What?
Yes, and you have Justin Trudeau saying this is a small fringe protest because this is what they do anytime they want to turn public perception against the popular movement. They either claim it's not large or they ignore it. They do it at the March for Life every single year, which is part of why I went there this year to cover it, because there were tens of thousands of people there, but they always make it sound like it's a no-show event.
How many people do you think were down there at the...
I couldn't estimate, but it was tens of thousands, definitely.
Well, and it wasn't just in D.C. too. It's happening all over the country.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
March
state
for
capitals.
Life?
March for Life is national, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, vaccine passports.
I've been waiting for the United States, for Americans and Canadians to unify in some way against government overreach. Just Americans and other people from around the world, Australians.
What is this going to mean for our food and stuff? Because are these guys effectively not working by doing this? There's already a trucker shortage.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was sort of talking about this yesterday, but the idea that we could afford to lose 20% of our truckers across any border if the economy was doing well would be ludicrous. With things as bad as they are, it's insane to even have Justin Trudeau or any civil authority ignore this, pretend as if it's not a big deal, and try to force their demands onto the truckers. He either doesn't realize the leverage that they have, or more likely he realizes they do have leverage, but he doesn't care because he's not going to get hurt when the shelves aren't stocked. You are.
What I don't get is, why are they targeting truckers specifically? Because most of your time you're alone in your cabin. Yeah. You're not, okay, maybe you're at the Flying J to pick up some snacks. Why not the motorists in the car, the four-wheelers?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Like,
why
truckers? The people for whom we rely on. I don't understand that, and then I don't understand Omicron. I think changed the calculus for everything. Like, it's just breakthrough cases are everywhere. So whether you are vaccinated or not at this point, it is irrelevant to whether you will get Omicron.
If you look at all of this through the lens of public health, you will be confused the whole time. Exactly. If you look at this through the lens of someone trying to destroy economies, everything makes sense.
Exactly.
Why would Cuomo willfully kill people? Andrew Cuomo in New York was like, I'm going to put sick people in nursing homes and they'll die. And he was warned that would happen. Now, why would he do that if he was trying to save lives? That literally makes no sense. The problem is
because he got a lot of money from the hospital associations.
To send
campaign donations to his campaign.
Yeah, but
because they were pressuring him because they wanted the money.
Right, no, but he put him in nursing homes.
Well, the administrators of both the hospitals and the nursing homes.
The nursing homes said, "Give us sick people."
They wanted the money.
Is that it?
From
just killing all these people.
Yeah, but he wanted the campaign. He was under their pressure.
The nursing home said, "Give us more people to make us money." As I understand it, that's what they want. They wanted the people there. Well, then he killed people for money.
Well, also, I think a lot of this makes more sense if you look at it through the lens of these people being control freaks who demand our compliance. So you asked why go after truckers. I think part of the reason is because they just need to see people bend the knee. I think that's a huge reason why these mandates are being pushed on people. They don't want you making your own medical decisions. They want to make those decisions for you. I firmly believe that. And I think they view it as a challenge to I think they view it as a challenge to their authority if people don't take their recommendations and do the things they told them to do, and they don't care who has to suffer when those people are punished. That's what I believe.
That's too simplistic.
I don't think so. I think that these people are control freaks.
Yeah, but control freaks that want something. Like the idea that they're just like, you know what? We have no reason to do this, but we'll do it anyway.
No. All right. So here's the thing. I absolutely believe that there are probably other motives there, but I think once people start standing up and saying no, then the new motivation becomes, well, I need to make sure that they fall in line, because if they can say no to this, they can say no to the other demands I make on them.
I think a lot of this is political. I think there's political strategy behind it.
Definitely.
I think they, the interesting thing is that it spans all these different countries. You've got Europe enacting much of the same policies that we enact here, that Canada is doing now. Interestingly, we're seeing in Europe a bunch of these countries start to end their lockdowns, like Denmark, I think the Netherlands, a few others. While some are getting even more strict, I look at this through the lens of a pandemic. None of it makes sense. It's like you're trying to put a puzzle together, but if you've got the wrong picture, the pieces won't go together. And if we look at this through the lens of coordinated political manipulation, then it all makes sense. It does. Why go after truckers? They're destroying the economy. Why destroy the economy? I mean, I don't know, man. There's a bunch of different reasons. For one, look at what Bill de Blasio said. That he wants to buy up the buildings in New York City, now that they're worthless because people are fleeing, and turn them into public housing. So there's one good reason to do it.
Yeah.
You go after the truckers, you depress wages, you smash small businesses, you transfer wealth back up to the elites who call themselves the elites in the World Economic Forum. I mean, that looks, plain and simple. Now, I suppose if you want to take it one extra layer deep, we can, listen to Alex Jones talking about an alien intelligence taking over, but that one's a little too far from me.
I can't go there.
Yeah, global elites who are trying to steal money from the working class. Well, that's history.
Well, yeah, that's socialism, that's Marxism, that's human nature to grasp more power. That's just ad infinitum. That's how humans have always been. And we see this in real time right now in Central America. It's just heartbreaking to see that a strong man, strong woman, whatever, dictator, they don't care about the people. It's all about, in Cuba, it's same thing. That's how it is. If you get power, you're power hungry, you're power drunk, unless you believe that the power rests with the people. Then fundamentally, if you fundamentally don't believe that the power rests with the people and that you are better than them, then you're going to keep stealing more power. That's just human nature.
What I find funny about this is the posts and stories where it's like, it's white supremacists. Like that's their go-to for everything.
Yeah.
Aliens.
As if that's in any way an explanatory narrative here. Like, why don't these people want to get this injection? Oh, they must hate black people. Like, what are you talking about?
A bunch of racists got in their trucks.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. But they did the same
not to
thing.
mention the vaccine hesitancy among black Americans is, I think, in many cases a lot higher than white Americans.
Especially in New York. But they're doing
but
the
again,
same
that's
thing,
white supremacy because they're trying to scare black people to not get it.
They're doing the same thing right now with March for Life.
Yeah, of course.
That Patriot Front group that no sane person thinks is an actual group.
I know.
Was apparently at the March for Life, and now all these articles pop up where they're like, why white supremacists like the pro-life movement or whatever, and I'm like, I don't understand why they would. That makes no sense.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane. What about Margaret Sanger? She was a white supremacist, and she founded Planned Parenthood, so explain that to me.
Or the locations of Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's why, that's not an indictment from me personally on Planned Parenthood's choice of locations. The left has their arguments for it. I'm just pointing out, why would a white supremacist be upset with that?
Yeah.
Why would they be like, oh, gee, oh, darn? No, they would probably be in favor of those clinics.
No, in fact, I think Live Action called up a Planned Parenthood and said, I'd like to specifically target a donation to specifically target for black women.
Yes.
And they said,
Wow.
yeah, send it on over. And he's like,
that is wokeness cranked up to 11.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've got some critical race theorist, like woke, Planned Parenthood woman, nurse or whatever. And she's like, that's so nice of you.
Yeah. No, it's true. He asks over the phone. I can't remember if it was Live Action, but I do
or was
remember
it
that story.
Veritas?
It
was
might
one
have
of
been.
those
I
two.
don't remember, but I do remember this guy over the phone like, I want to make a donation for people to have abortions. Like, could it go like specifically to like minority? He's like dancing around it a little bit, but he basically says, yeah, could you like make sure this donation goes to getting black babies aborted? And they're like, yes, of course. That's what we do
because
here.
the way they twist it in their head, and I have to put the disclaimer: Independent Women's Forum is neutral on abortion, but I personally am pro-life. And that's the thing about the right is that we allow for disparate opinion on this. There are almost no pro-life Democrats. They just, for example, tried to book Democrats for Life tried to book a meal during the March for Life at a restaurant. I think Busboys and Poets in D.C. their reservation was canceled once they found out that these were Democrats for life. But I am personally pro-life. But
there's actually a lot of Democrats that are pro-life. It's huge.
Yeah, but they're suppressed by the establishment, and you can't fundraise, especially if you're a female Democrat. Good luck getting money.
And I would say they're not particularly pro-life if they're willing to just vote Democrat, knowing they're voting against their own interests.
Exactly.
But not to derail the conversation. Speaking of truckers, they're doing the same thing, but it's the same old tired playbook. I'm tired of saying it. I'm tired of hearing it. But to be honest, it's getting to a point where now it's comical. It's like, oh, you're doing that thing again? You're claiming the protesters are racists?
Exactly.
Wow. What year is it? Is it 2016? Oh, it's 2022?
Well, and this is
get a new bit.
There was an incredibly insightful article written in 2016, and I can't remember who wrote it, unfortunately, but their whole point was, after the election, they realized that they couldn't go around calling people racist anymore. And it wasn't that they realized that you can't just call people names. They just understood that term had lost its meaning. So they started saying white supremacist after that. And then they started saying white supremacist all the time. And now I think they've moved on to, they're really playing with using like incitement of violence as their new term.
Or threat to democracy.
Or threat to democracy. Yeah, but it's just the same way of saying a different way of saying the same thing, which is that you're disobedient.
It's Chicken Little. Just running around screaming the sky is falling. It's the boy who cried wolf. I got to be honest. I literally don't care. Yeah. Someone could be marching around protesting anything, and they would be like, that person's racist. And I'd be like, what else is on? I don't care. I don't care. It doesn't mean anything.
The word's lost any meaning.
Meaningless.
Yeah. And I speaking of threat to democracy, I just read a really great piece about the actual threat to democracy right now is the Soros-funded DAs who are literally ignoring the will of the people by choosing to pick and choose whatever they feel like prosecuting. These are laws that have been passed by the legislative branch. There's a thing called separation of powers that says the executive branch is supposed to. It's not optional. You can't, the DA in New York, for example, can't just unilaterally decide something. These aren't suggestions. So that is the actual threat to democracy. And I'm really glad to see people like my former boss, John Solomon. He's been able to do some great reporting about this and enforcing documents. For example, in Missouri, the prosecutor who was Soros funded in St. Louis, people are starting to wake up.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Now, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.